First of all, for executive session,
Call the meeting. Oh,
we have to move out, adjourn from executive session with no action taken.
So moved.
okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstain?
No.
Okay. So, I'm going to call the regular meeting to the Board of Selectmen to order. Today's February 7th. If you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Any additional agenda or consent items? I don't think so. So we'll go to delegations.
But you want to do minutes first? Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Might say delegations.
No, you're right. I'm sorry. I looked at.
I know I jump ahead a lot.
Okay.
Delegations?
Good evening, First Selectmen and other Selectmen Board members. My name is John Bialawans of 61 Walnut Hill Road. I have been quiet for a long time, and now what I have been seeing happening, hearing in this town, it's time to let the taxpayers see how this town is run. Believe it or not, many people don't even know who's running this town, Famiko and Nickerson. The first matter that I would like to discuss is, I noticed about 5 or 7 months ago, a cell tower on the solar farm's property. It's over 125 feet tall. When were the taxpayers going to be told? Was the Connecticut Siding Council told about it or given their permission? Was the Wetlands Commission told or given their permission? Was the Zoning Commission told or given their permission? Was the Planning Commission told or given their permission? The town has to abide by the same regulations, rules, and format listed above and any other departments, just like taxpayers have to do. The town's cell tower height doesn't even have lights on it. That's being sneaky to hide the tower from the public. What happened to all the discussions, research about the cell tower on the town's property at Darrell's Pond? What a waste of time. Or was it just for show? I heard it was a communication tower on this solar farm property. So why put it at the north end of town? There are many other spots and heights around the town that it could have been put on. Was buying Darrell's Pond and land another mistake for $4 million? If the town waited 1 or 2 years, the bank would have sold the property for less than probably $2 million or less. What else? Who else would be buying this property? Like Costco's dealings with this town. Nobody wants the hassle. Good work, East Lyme. The town scares away businesses to lower taxes and stop customers from patronizing the stores already here, because most of them move out. The cell tower is on solar farm's property, not the land trust property. How much money does the town pay the solar farm? It would be nice to let the taxpayers know and why. There is a rumor, and I quote, going around that Famika owns part of the solar farm for his favors. This is not a hard matter or questions to give a professional, honest answer to, not a politician's answer. Or is the town hiding something, hoping nobody's going to ask and nobody's going to notice the cell tower? Now more taxpayers will pay closer attention to the town's matters or dealings. The taxpayers have the right to know, isn't this the United States of America or not? Thank you, John Bialawans. P.S. I'll bring up other problems, rumors, facts, and other departments in coming months or even every meeting. What else is the town hiding or trying to get away with? I'll be the town employee to handle the complaint department. The first complaint from the complaint department is a very good example. I just read on February 7th in the classified section of the day's newspaper an example of the town's request for construction of a 101-foot-long by 8-foot wide dock to be constructed. They need a public hearing on it, just like this cell tower would have to do. The town can't pick or choose when they have to follow their regulations or enforce their regulations. I'll give the taxpayers some examples of how the town enforces their regulations on wetlands, etc., in coming months. Thank you for your time. And I will be continuing coming to meetings. I'll be coming to planning meetings, and I'll be coming to zoning meetings, because I was told to shut my mouth for a while, and now, it's because of how I was treated by the town, and I'm finally gonna say, blank, blank, I'm just gonna express my feelings now. I had enough of this and everything else. They made me promises, well, Famika did, and I just had enough, so. You'll see my face around here a lot now.
Okay, anybody else for delegations? Just give one copy to Sandy, it'll be in our minutes, that way. Oh. Any other delegations? Approval of the minutes, regular meeting of January 17th.
Now I got it right. Move to approve the Board of Selectmen regular meeting minutes of January 17th, 2018 as submitted.
Second?
Any comments, questions, corrections? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Corrections? Consent calendar, maybe?
Move to approve the consent calendar for the meeting of February 7th, 2018 in the amount of $10,087.09.
Second?
And seconded. Comment? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? No old business, new business. Approve the wage transfers. We have three different departments need some wage transferring. Guess I'll go through that. We have Anna here for any questions that you might have. The Board of Selectmen approved a 2.5 wage increase for non-union employees and elected officials, of the town of East Lyme. For this current year, in the budget funds were set aside for purposes of the wage and contingency line item. In other words, they weren't in the departments yet. We need to move the money over from the contingency to these three departments. This first one is unaffiliated. We're moving $47,901.
Mark, I got a question on this,
Yeah.
probably for Anna. When I looked at the numbers for the unaffiliated, you have in the back, I noticed some account numbers were 2.5% and some were 5, roughly 5.
Is that because of the step increases? Some employees, depending on their year and depending on where they are in their wage grades compared to their titles and at what level they were hired into, they get steps.
Okay, so this includes steps and the,
It would include steps, that's part of
okay,
the
that's why
wage
they weren't
package.
exactly
Yeah.
5%, they were 4%, okay.
We see that less and less. We're trying to get away from these automatic step increases and move to more of a COLA package, but right now, we're kind of stuck with some agreements.
Got it, thank you.
Yeah.
I'll put a motion out. Move to approve a transfer in the amount of $47,901 from account 0101-120-100-500, town payroll pending PR change, to various budget line items as itemized on the attached worksheet titled Town of East Lyme Unaffiliated COLA Increases 7/1/17 to 6/30/18. Additional funding required, and forward to the Board of Finance for their approval.
Second?
Motion and second. Any comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? The next is UPSU. UPSU is the union that covers town hall employees, public work employees, parks and recs, it's everything but police, fire, and dispatch, basically. So we, again, we have a bargaining group that has a contract where we put money into the contingency while the contract was still being negotiated, and the funds were set aside. This isn't new funding, this is money that's in one account that needs to be brought over to another to pay for the intended purpose, which is to pay for the employees. $115,062 is the amount that needs to be transferred over.
Move to approve a transfer in the amount of $115,062 from account 0101-120-100-500 town payroll pending PR change to various budget line items as itemized on the attached worksheet titled Town of Upshur Contract Increases 7/1/17 to 6/30/18. Additional funding required and forward to the Board of Finance for their approval.
Second.
Okay, motion and second, any comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? There you go. Last one is very similar. We pushed the union contract off 1 year. In other words, we did a successor agreement for a 1-year provision instead of negotiating a new police union contract in the middle of going independent. I didn't think that was appropriate, nor did the police. They didn't want to be in that. We had enough going on, in other words. So in other words, we do have money put aside for the police. I think it's $20,134 in our contingency to cover the difference in that 1-year agreement, which is a 2.5% wage increase.
A move to approve a transfer in the amount of $20,134 from account 0101-120-100-500 contingency pending PR change to the following accounts: $12,060 to account 0125-216-100-511 salaries police, and $8,074 to account 0125-216-100-514 overtime due to the timing with the budget process and negotiating a successor agreement and forward to the Board of Finance for their approval.
Second.
Motion second.
I do have one
Yeah.
question.
Yes.
Are they still, in the chart, they say salaries constables, are they still considered constables?
No.
Well, a constable would be, I think the part-time police officer
Is a sworn officer.
is a
now.
sworn
sworn
officer.
officers now,
They're
right?
not constables
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
At the time, it isn't. when we-
Yeah, no, but since we
So,
want to go
we're moving
full-time,
away from
just
that
in the future, if
terminology.
we could,
Yeah.
if we could just
Police
change that
officers.
language. But doesn't change anything here, but.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? We need to ratify some department transfers. Next on our agenda, various transfers within department budgets have been necessary for various reasons. Attached is the documentation for transfers made for a total of $24,053.81. Information presented includes from what account number, description of the budget line item, and then what account number it's going to, and the description of that line item. These requests are forwarded to you in accordance with 6.3.4 of our town charter.
I'll put a motion out. Move to ratify departmental transfers in the amount of $24,053.81 processed for fiscal year end June 30, 2018, and to forward to the Board of Finance for approval.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. Next is the, it's Joe Bergaw is home with the flu, and he offered to come in tonight. And he said he was feeling a little bit better and got some fluids in him, and I said, don't you dare. You're not allowed to come to a night meeting if you've missed the day with the flu. So he's at home, he's by a phone if we want to talk with him about any of this. This is not very complicated. You know why it's not complicated? Because we've seen this story half a dozen times. We're gonna change out light fixtures, and it's gonna be paid for in full with either reimbursements, the energy credits, or the savings in the electric bill. So I'm going to read the narrative into the record, and as if Joe was here. The highway department personnel have been complaining about poor lighting throughout the FSB built facility for a few years now. It's becoming a safety issue. Before I got here, the town went forward and installed skylights. I remember that, which were called sun ports. And in the large garage area, that was supposed to provide enough lighting and save energy using the sun. Well, they've actually not worked out the way they were supposed to, and they're not providing the light necessary. So we need to move on and improve the lighting in that facility. We contacted an energy efficiency contractor, Earthlight Technologies, and they provided us with a proposal to change out all the existing FSB lights to LED, add lighting where needed, and bring facility to acceptable lighting standards. The cost of the new proposed lighting is $29,813.85. We have already been approved for $8,916.93 in CL&P incentives that we earned. So we have a balance out there we actually need to spend. And we applied our $10,000 Eversource Bright Idea grant to this project as well. So that would leave a balance of $10,896. Like we've done in the past for so many projects, we can finance the $10,896 from the savings in our electric bills, so there'll be no new money needed to move forward with this project. Even though we are adding extra fixtures, the contractor estimates that we will save $4,100 a year on electricity if we move forward with this project, so the payback is approximately 2.67 years. The incentive agreement is only good through March 9th, 2018. So that Joe, that's why Joe is offering to come in tonight, because we can't let this slip. We need to move forward with the approval process now to get it through the appropriate channels so we can get this thing done. He is available, but I think it's self-explanatory. We've earned a $10,000 credit that we have to spend, and that's from the Energize CT group that gives this money out to towns. It might be because of our solar panels and all the other things we do in town, like the street lights and another savings. And then the savings in the electric bill, plus $8,900 in credit from CL&P. So we have a motion. We'll put that on there. And if you have any questions, I can call Joe and put him on speaker, and it can be part of our live meeting tonight if necessary.
Okay, I'll move to approve a special appropriation in the amount of $29,813.85 for the installation of energy-efficient lighting at the Field Services Building at 8 Capitol Drive, a budget account titled Energy Efficient Lighting FSB will be established for the grant funds and conservation incentive. Revenue account 01-08-800-842, Clean Energy Incentives, has been established for these funds. $10,000 from an Eversource Bright Idea grant, funds have been received. $8,916.93 from conservation incentive dollars from Eversource, and the balance of $10,896.92 will be paid by the monthly savings in the related electric bill from building maintenance account 01-01-113-400-210, and forward to the Board of Finance for approval, and this will require a town meeting.
I'll second that, but I do have a couple questions.
Terrific. What might that be?
How many quotes did we get for the electrical work?
I don't know. I can call Joe and ask him.
Because when I read it, it only looked like there was possibly one.
Okay, how many quotes? Well,
Yeah, I mean-
I'll collate all the questions, and we can call them and ask them live. It does meet our purchasing policy, the current purchasing policy that is in place. And because there's no real outlay in cash, there are certain parameters that he doesn't have to reach, where we're just trying to save the town money. We're utilizing tax and
No, that's
energy
all,
credits.
great, which is great.
So there's really no appropriation, if you will. There is, because we're moving money around, but because we're not.
Still a town purchase, so.
Yeah. So I'll ask him that question.
I just asked because we're working on the purchasing policy, and this seems like
Yeah.
it would trigger a 3.
Any other questions?
Couple.
Yeah.
The money that we has to be financed, is that gonna, I know the payback is in 2.67 years. That includes interest for that finance, so we actually gonna borrow money, or are we gonna pay the contractor back with the
Anna, do you know the
4,000 a
answer to
year.
that?
In the past, when we've done projects like this, we have strictly just been billed through our electric bill, and we will this time, although there's going to be a third party involved for the actual financing piece. But we will be billed through the electric bill.
And the financing rate, interest rate is in this dollar amount already? The 10,896 that we're gonna finance?
I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure.
You know, it would only prolong the payback period by a couple months, whatever it might be over a 2.5-year period. So-
I'll ask Joe that too. I'm making a list.
And outside of that, personal experience, this will save $4,000 a year, if not more, as the price of electricity goes out.
Mhm.
And these lighting systems, LED lighting systems, you don't have to replace the bulbs for 15 to 20 years. This is, as long as we can afford the money and only having to borrow 1/3 of the money to put this project in, this is a overall good thing to do for the town, a good thing to do for the taxpayers from a financial standpoint.
Your experience is valuable over there, Paul. Any other questions while I prepare to call Mr.
I
McGowan?
just have a comment, it's not really a question, but, it sounds like they're going to add other light fixtures, to the existing facility to brighten things up. I guess the problem was it's been a little bit too dark. So you're not only gonna get the benefit, and even with doing that, you're still gonna save the money, but you're gonna make it a safer environment for the town employees at the same time. So
Right.
it looks like a win on, from both perspectives.
Agreed.
And one other, I was going to ask the same question Paul did about the interest, but you already got that one. But the other comment I was going to make is, you know, one of the things that we've realized is we have to maintain our facilities. This is doing it to where it'll make it better, address future maintenance needs and future savings. So I think it's a great opportunity.
Great. Hey, Joe, you watching at home?
I am not watching.
I feel like I'm like dialing for dollars here, and it's one of those old afternoon shows where, you know, if you know the correct phrase, you could win $1,000. But Joe, I'm sorry you're not feeling good. Thanks for checking in with us. What we're calling for, of course we're live. A couple of questions on your proposal. First of all, did we get 3 quotes to the 3 companies, or is this a specialty single source company, or tell me the story about that?
It's a single source company. Different companies come around. They work with Eversource for energy efficiency projects. So we reached out to this company who does these kind of projects. They gave us a price, but they work along with Eversource, and they're one of the approved contractors from Eversource.
Okay, so that makes a lot of sense. They're working alongside Eversource, using the credits that we build up with Eversource to go spend them on efficiency projects that make a lot of sense. So, so single source is the avenue we're heading down on that one when we get to
That's correct.
especially Board of Finance.
That's correct. These people are certified with Eversource to do this work. They were reputable. They've done good work other places, and we definitely needed this work done at the FSB. So we were trying to also move forward with this. The energy incentive portion of this is good till March 9th. It's guaranteed, so that's why I'm trying to go through Board of Finance and town meeting to make sure we can move forward while we still have these energy efficiency dollars guaranteed.
Joe, we leave a balance of $10,896 to be paid after all those credits are spent. How are we paying that? Are we paying that with a finance charge? Has that already been figured in?
What happens is on our normal monthly bill, instead of say paying $2,000 a month, the way they do the payments is they figure out how much money you're going to save because of this project. We're changing everything to LEDs, and we're going to be saving about $4,100 a year in this. So what they do is they figure out that the time period it takes, so that the amount that you actually save in your electricity bill matches the amount of the loan. So you won't have to pay any more over the life of the loan than what you would have been paying if you didn't move forward with the project. And then after that you're done with that, then you get all the savings and the energy efficiencies.
I sort of get that. So is the loan through, I mean, the difference in the money, that $10,000, is that sit in, is that a lease? Is there a finance charge involved? Is there a percentage number you can give us, or is?
It's through Eversource.
It's through Eversource.
It's through Eversource, and it's actually it will become right off of the Eversource energy bill. So it won't be a separate payment. It comes right out of the Eversource bill.
Kind of like when I get a new cell phone now, they just put it into my cell phone bill, and it just gets paid off in time, and it works that way. So there's no extra lease company in the middle, and there's no upfront charge. They'll just be charging us as we go, so we get that savings. Does that meet everyone's questions? We satisfied with that?
Okay.
Joe, I hope you feel better.
Thank you.
I'll check in with you later in the week.
All right, thank you.
Bye-bye. That was,
He didn't sound good.
well, could have been the cell phone coverage too, but no, he's been hurt.
Maybe you need one of those new cell phones you could wrap into your bill.
So many people are sick in our town. Any other questions? We have a motion on the table, right? It's been
Yes, we do.
seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? The next is a kind of just an open discussion, no approval necessary, but we want to update you. And Roseanne had brought this to, brought it up in a discussion we had, and I'm not sure if we're prepared to go deep into this tonight. I'm glad Anna's here to fill in some of the holes in the discussion. But we have a credit for seniors, low-income seniors in our town, and it's an ordinance. Am I skipping one?
You skipped two.
Oh, yeah, look at that. That was I skipped two.
So anxious to get to your agenda item, Roger.
I was, well, I have this thing checked off, but, yeah. So the adoption of a lease extension for care and share is 3D on our agenda. Let's start there. This only requires a resolution. We have a resolution in your book, I believe, and we have the lease here for your reference. This lease was executed May 25th, 2012, and it expired last June, and everyone just didn't remember that it came up. We want to keep care and share in the spot that they're in, right off of Roxbury Road. They do great work in our town, and we'd like to extend our agreement with them. This is not a new lease, but rather just a resolution to extend the lease as it was already spelt out
Yeah, in the thing.
in our lease. So maybe if you could read the
Sure.
resolution and.
Whereas the May 29, 2012 lease between the town of East Lyme, the town, and Care and Share of East Lyme Incorporated, leasee, provides that the leasee shall have the option to extend the term of the lease for an additional 5 years from June 1, 2017 to May 31st, 2022, and whereas the leasee has advised the town that it intended to exercise its option to extend the lease, but inadvertently failed to send a timely notice of its intention, and whereas the leasee has been occupying the leased premises since June 1, 2017, and has maintained the premises in good order and is using the premises for the purposes described in the lease, and whereas in light of the foregoing circumstances, the town considers it appropriate to forego strict compliance with the terms of the lease and is willing to waive the requirement of timely notice of the option to renew. Now, therefore, the town hereby waives the untimely nature of the leasee's exercise of its option to renew the lease and affirms that said lease is in full force and in effect until May 31st, 2022.
Second.
Motion seconded. Everyone understand? We're just extending the lease?
Well, it's been some time since I reviewed that. Do we have any ability, if circumstances should change within the 5-year period, that if we sign this, we're fully committed? they have it for 5 years. No,
Unless we decide we wanted to put them somewhere else, but yeah, we were kind of committed. And they, if you remember, they wanted that because they wanted to start making a permanent home. And putting up the shelves and getting the refrigerators necessary to put on a proper food locker. And I think they've catapulted because of their ability to actually have a home. They've really kind of been entrenched. But yeah, it does lock us into that spot. Should something come up, I think they would be agreeable if we could find them another home and maybe help them move, if something were to come up and we need to move them. I know where you're going. We'll find them a spot, maybe on Main Street somewhere. Motion and seconded. Any other comments?
Yeah, my only comment is, obviously, they didn't provide notice in accordance with the terms of lease. I have no problem waiving that. But from a town standpoint, how can we assure we don't have a lease that's expired
Yeah, that's a good
without
point.
being enacted on in a timely manner going forward? And I don't know how many other leases we have. It may be one of a kind. I know it's $1 a year. It doesn't get a lot of visibility, but we probably should avoid getting in this situation in the future if we
It's
can.
almost like we handed you the script, Mr. Daigle, because we're working on a matrix now, because we're finding just a lot of these agreements come up. A lot of these little, they're not, this is a unique lease, but there are all sorts of things that come up that we have agreements on and et cetera. So we want to get a matrix together, a schedule together, and kind of have a rolling, a schedule when we know things are coming up.
Sometimes referred to as a tickler file, just to
Well,
remind you
yeah,
ahead of time.
yeah, exactly. So, there you
Thank
go.
you.
It's a good point. We're working on that, had that conversation just, today's Wednesday, yesterday. Any other comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? So I'll go to the next one on the agenda, which is weird for me. 3E, discussion of possible action of the building fees and school renovation project. That was put into your agenda before we had a final decision from our attorney. It was a revised ordinance, not a fee schedule, that we revised about a year and a half ago, adding town building fees back in as something we'd wanted to do. If it's a major project, we want to be able to collect fees for it. Thinking, especially the school projects that were around the corner, that 2/3 of it would be reimbursable by the state, or half of it would be. Well, that's not the case in this case because of the renovation, not the new build. And we'd rather not use town taxpayer money to pay fees back to the town and then take that and bond it out for 20 years. So it's the ask of the Board of Ed, of the Town Building Committee, and that we remove town buildings, or exempt town buildings from having to pay building fees during town projects. So I will be forwarding you an ordinance, and then therefore scheduling public hearings and all those kind of things to get those removed as soon as possible. Okay?
Mark, can I ask a question with Joe?
Yeah, I suppose as staff, and with the subject being what it is, I think we can,
Yeah.
since it is the subject, and it is on the agenda tonight.
Just so I can report back, I mean, what kind of effort do you see your department being involved in with the school? I don't know if you've seen any of it yet.
I've reviewed it. We've been through the plans for all 3 of the schools. We're 90% of the plan review has been completed. When the project starts full bore, I anticipate having somebody put in between 3 and 4 hours a day for 14 to 15 months. If we were collecting the fees, it would be somewhere in the neighborhood of $350,000. There will be the state fee, will always be due, and that's going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of $10,000.
Right.
It was my understanding when we adopted that ordinance that we had a provision where we could waive it on a case-by-case basis, however. I didn't think it was necessary to amend the ordinance back to where it was. I thought,
That was the
Maybe-
answer I
maybe-
got, and I thought so too. I thought it was almost a fee schedule, or it was a fee schedule rather than an ordinance, that we had a flexibility.
that,
My recollection.
That's what I thought too.
That's what I
Well,
thought, yeah.
when I'm hearing that, then, we're gonna go back in and pull the minutes, and also the ordinance that,
Because it would be
we're
simpler, you wouldn't have to
specifically
have
talking
another ordinance to waive a fee.
Right.
And we've waived fees in the past, or the board has waived
Right.
fees in the past.
So I'll go back and review that then. The answer I was getting yesterday afternoon was, no, we gotta go through the whole process again. Let me go back and review that, and if you can pull that up tomorrow for me. Thank you.
Was any of this money anticipated and had any effect on our upcoming budget or our current budget?
No, it's not in the budget to increase Joe's staff. I think we'll scramble the first year if we're hurting a little bit. We have some contingency money. We'll do some department transfers if necessary. And if we're really falling behind, we'll have the next year's budget that will be the end of the project. We'll be able to pad it up on that side. So, this project goes over 2 fiscal years, and we can make up the difference on the other side if necessary. We'll borrow from Peter to pay Paul and then pay it back if necessary. We'll
It
figure out
actually
what he'd do.
falls a little bit to 3 fiscal years, the one that we're in
Yeah,
now,
really, yeah.
the following one, and then a few months into the
That's
next
a good
one.
point.
If we end up needing more help, it would be reflected in fees from projects that come in that result in
Right.
a need
That's true.
for help.
Right.
Right now, I anticipate being able to handle it. We'll be a little tight, but with the staff I have now, we'll be pushing it, but I wouldn't add anybody. I might have Steve
Okay.
work another day or 2 a week, but that has been in the budget.
Right, right.
That he work, he was able to work 28 hours in the past. He's only been working 24,
Okay.
so we could perhaps squeeze a few more hours in there if
So you
necessary.
have some flexibility with employees, it's just a matter of funding. So, okay.
Yeah, he's not happy to work more hours, but if it's only for a period of a few months, I'm sure he would do it. He's
Okay,
very
yeah.
cooperative.
That's good. It's an important project, so.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay. So I'll dig in and do a little bit more research on that. I thought it was gonna be a quick fix, and I'm glad to hear it might be, as other people recall what I recalled, which is good. I'll go to that tax exemption renters rebate program now, because that's the natural order of things here. The bottom line is the state has, we may not have had this discussion at this level, and I wanted you to know that there are 3 programs that the town supports for, especially, there's just 2? I think there's a third one out there. So there's the renter's rebate yeah, there's renter's rebate too. So for seniors who might be low-income seniors, we have, there's a town program that, a sliding scale from $300 to $1,000 in tax credit. Is that what we call it? Tax credit? It's not an assessment, it's tax credit. We give a credit on their tax bills, $300 to $1,000 for seniors. It depends on income. The state has a similar program for renters. And is it a check that goes out, Anna? To individuals who rent? That was always a state-funded program. Well, the state in their budget this year said, you know what? We're gonna dump 50% of this back onto the towns, up to $200,000. Up to 250? About 200. Our burden on that is 90,000? I don't have anything. 50,000. So out of nowhere, the state said, we've been paying this, you talk about your classic unfunded mandate. So they have a program that they created and said, you know what, we're not gonna pay for it anymore. We're gonna pay for only half of it. We're gonna give it to the towns, and in order to get the money from the towns, because we know the towns will dig their heels in and not cut a check, we're just gonna take it out of the state aid that we send the towns. So the $50,000 that is our obligation officially now to pay will come out of the education cost-sharing grant money. So while the state will say they're giving us X number of thousands of dollars for education cost share, the actual check or the electronic fund transfer that we receive will be less $50,000 roughly.
Effective this year?
It's effective, yeah, it's
Immediately.
effective. They backdated it
So
to
it is.
July 1st. of this current year. Of course, we didn't budget that. Of course, we had no idea it was coming. And then there's a third program, Ann, and I can't for the life of me remember what that third program is. We have the assessors program, the renters rebate, is that it? There's two pieces to it. There's a state option. There's a state program. Right. Right. So when we bring the assessor in, we're gonna get a full, we're gonna talk about her budget this much, because there's not much to the budget, but we're gonna talk about these programs. She's worked for other towns, and she's also doing research of what other towns are doing. And because now we're funding the other programs that we weren't funding before, there has been a general pullback from towns to fund all these different programs. And we may want to consider that. It won't be a politically favorable thing to do. But when we give someone a tax credit, we must charge someone else for that tax credit. You know, giving someone else a tax surcharge to give someone a tax credit, and we need to understand how much is appropriate that we credit these folks. So we need to have that discussion. It'll be coming up in a meeting when we meet with the assessors. But Roseanne, you were part of some of those meetings last week. Do you have anything to add to that?
No, I think that's pretty much it. It's just another example of the hidden things that we didn't realize were
In this budget?
in the
Yeah.
proposed reductions from state aid. And so I think we can't look at this in isolation. We're going to have to take a look at all of these programs that the state has been either helping us with or has been funding for us. And I think we're going to have to look at the total impact of this, because we're going to see the pilot funds, we've got this. I think that we've got a couple of other things that the state was paying a portion of. And at budget time, we're just gonna have to take a look at all of them. And we're gonna have to put the blame where it rests, and that's the state not doing their share.
Indeed. We should just assume, and you'll see this in the budget, which we're about to talk about. First of all, the current funding, which includes all these extra things that have been dumped on us, is in next year's budget, as the town paying for it. So when you get our budget numbers, we're already assuming we are paying for it. But in future years, as the state aid is lessened, gets lower and lower, we do need to find ways to cut some of the expenses, frankly. So that, more of those discussions coming up in future meetings.
On the renters rebate program, you said it's being deducted from the education fund. Does that mean it's gonna have to be absorbed by the school budget?
No, the education fund actually goes into our general fund.
Okay.
So it's just money received.
Thank you.
They just chose the biggest one because they knew everybody would be able to cover it. Right, right.
Hey, Mark, was that, the cut that we got from the state this year so far, was that included in it, or is this
No.
on, it's above, so we just got this
above.
this,
This is more, yeah.
so we're gonna have to find another, we're gonna, okay.
And we did. It's already been encumbered. We are going to get through between now and July, or June 30th. We're, hopeful that we pulled departments back, way back, and through attrition, lost some positions, and the schools have pulled way back, because they own 2/3 of the budget, so they took 2/3 of the governor's cut, which is $1.2 million. We had planned for $300,000, so it was $900,000 sitting on the table that we had to go find. In a budget that it was already 4 months old. 4 months we were living in for 4 months. So really, it kind of made the problem even more of a problem, because we were already spending it at a certain level that we had to pull back. So,
Well, we're gonna have to hope for more rain days and less snow days.
yeah, Yeah, except they called for snow, so I'm sure we had all our guys getting raring to go with salt in the trucks and everything else today, right? And no school and all that. Did you go to work today?
I did.
Yeah. The next on our agenda is the approval of the settlement package for Richard, Dick Morris, who served our town for at least 28 years as a fire marshal.
Okay, I'll move to approve the memorandum of agreement between the town of East, nope, wrong one.
Yeah, there's another one there.
Yeah, see, you got off there. Move to approve the general release and settlement agreement between the town of East Lyme and Richard Morris, and authorize the first selectman to enter into said agreement.
Second?
Any other comments? Again, Dick has served our town well, and I wish him a long and healthy retirement, a well-deserved one. And I know he'll be around every time I pick up the phone and ask him for a question to be answered and a solution to a problem. He's always there for me. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Terrific. The approval of the dispatcher memorandum of understanding.
Move to approve the memorandum of agreement between the town of East Lyme and Dispatchers Local Union 1303-436, Council 4, AFSMI, AFL-CIO, and authorize the first selectman to enter into said agreement.
Second.
Motion second. Any further comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Terrific. Our dispatchers are a great group of people, and they serve us from the heart in 100%. Scheduled budget meetings. In your book, I think, do you have, do they have this? No. We, last year, had 3 sets of meetings. I know you haven't had a chance to review the budget yet, but we typically want to see certain budgets, and we can always add on. We had 3 meetings where we had, in the first meeting, we had police and animal control and dispatch, emergency management, and the 2 fire departments. And we had that on Monday. And then the other 2 were during meeting nights. Now, we could cram them all into the meeting nights, the next meeting and the following meeting, and probably be done with their schedule. Incidentally, the schools are booked for what day, do you remember? I don't either, but we have the school,
I thought it was the 21st.
Yeah,
it's the 21st.
Yeah.
At our regular meeting, they're gonna come in during the regular meeting and before the meeting?
We have a special town meeting at the 21st as well.
Is that March or February?
Yeah, we will.
It'd be this month.
It'd be
because
this
the
month. We have
budget's
to
at-
deliver by
but
March.
Everybody has to be delivered by before then.
So we will have, you're right, we'll have a town meeting that night, so, we'll probably have the, Board of Ed in, during our meeting. So, and we'll probably wanna do some, groups before our meeting, say 5:30 or 6 o'clock, and then break for our town meeting, cause we'll have more than likely some appropriations if we have a town meeting. Oh yeah, we have a sign call, right. So, what's your pleasure? As you look at your calendar,
Or
today's the 7th, do we wait till the 21st? Do you want to try to squeeze one in next week?
I'll be out the 21st, I won't be here.
I won't be here either.
That's great. Well, let's see if we can find some other dates then. Do you want to meet on, say, the 15th of February? It's a Thursday. We can go we'll look for some space.
That'd be fine.
21st, folks?
I have a building committee at 6, but I could, if we do it at 7, I'll swing by.
Want to do it
Even
at
if-
7? Start at
Yeah,
7?
7, yeah, it's fine.
No, we're looking at, 15th?
You could always, Mark, you could always,
Yeah, no, I'll
even message.
Yeah, we'll have to find another room.
Start at 6.
Yeah, we'll find another, it'll be a special meeting anyway. So we'll see if the room next door is open. If not, we can go to, yeah, we'll find out, we'll find a spot.
February 15th, and do we want to schedule this as an early meeting?
Is it?
An early meeting, as in 6?
And what about Mark? Can you just miss the town meeting? I
Yeah, you
mean, the
can
town
miss.
building committee
yeah,
for budgets?
yeah, no.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean,
So let's do 6 PM.
Look at law school, I can,
Yeah, those,
so at 6 PM on
6 PM is February 15th,
Which is Thursday.
which is a Thursday. Now, are you, Roseanne, is that a full week out on the 21st?
I would be back on Thursday.
I'll be out that whole week.
I think I have a conflict on Thursday.
I'm out that 22nd too, that night. I could do Tuesday night that week.
Well, I can always, this is for Board of Ed?
This, no, Board of Ed will be the 21st.
Okay.
That was their only night.
Yeah, the only
Which is
night
probably-
that week I can make is that Monday.
So, you'll be 2 people short, but you'll still have a quorum.
Yeah.
You just,
My conflict is on the 15th, not the 26th. Just to let you know, but everyone else can make the 15th, so.
The whole night, or can you do later, or is it, is it the whole day's up? Yeah.
Something at 6:30, I'll have to look
Yeah.
and see if I can.
well, you can review the budget, whichever budgets we decide to hear, and submit questions.
Right.
So what's the other day? So we got the.
So I get the 15th. We
Yeah.
need
At
another
6.
date. We are meeting on the 21st. I'll be missing 2. I'd rather not do budgets that night, other than we'll be listening to the Board of Ed budget.
Did we say
It
6,
was
6
common.
PM? Yeah, thank you. All right, then.
Is there another night? I
I'm
can't-
available the following week,
I'm not.
and I'm available the Monday, the 19th.
That's a holiday, though, that's a President's Day, it's a federal
Oh,
holiday.
it is a holiday. Yeah.
The 20th, we said no good?
I'm out, but as long as you could have 5 members.
What's the 14th? Oh, that's Valentine's Day, you couldn't,
I get,
you'd be committed for that day.
no, I could do it.
I
but
don't think so.
Board of Finance.
For the finance.
I get Board of Finance. Yeah, Board of Finance. So,
What about Tuesday
What about
night?
third, Tuesday?
I'm still pushing for the 20th. Oh, you're talking Tuesday, the 13th?
Yeah.
I can't. It's Fat Tuesday.
Monday?
I can't Monday or Tuesday next week.
Well, it's the 20th.
I gotta go to the following week. 20th?
What about if we did a 4 o'clock meeting?
On what night?
Any.
The 20th. I'm gonna keep pushing the 20th. Anybody?
I can do the 20th.
I have harbor management, but I can.
You can miss that.
I'm
Not
out.
the 20th? Okay, so, 20th, 21st, so that week is kind of shot. Let's just go to the first week of March.
We're gonna do, so you're not gonna do the 20th?
No, I got
What's our
a
deadline?
couple of people out on the 20th, I think.
What's our deadline?
March 7th.
Okay, well, that first week of March, we'll have our regular meeting.
Yeah.
Right, and we're gonna have to knock some out on the 21st. Maybe with small budgets. I mean, we are meeting, it's a regular meeting night that night.
Why don't we meet early? Do you anticipate we're gonna have any town meetings? On the 7th?
21st.
No, on the 7th of March? Can we just do early?
Board of Finance,
Right.
so it wouldn't, yeah.
Okay.
So, but what did we say about February? The first week of
Oh,
first
we
week of
could-
March, I'm saying.
Well, there's
First
first
week
and
of March.
second, or we could do, we have a Board of Selectmen meeting on the 7th, we do early, come at 6.
Right, we could bang out a lot of this on the 7th,
Yeah.
for sure. Not just little stuff. We can do 2 nights. We can do the February 15th, and we can do March 7th.
And we have to vote March 7th, or we have the following meeting?
Yeah, or we can call for a special meeting.
Well, let's take a look through the budget book and see how many people
Yeah.
how many departments we
Yeah.
want to see.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a good idea.
When
So
do we have
let's-
to approve by?
But decide on the 15th, we're gonna do the 15th.
15th and March 7th
Okay.
are both meeting nights, and the 21st is a meeting night, and I won't schedule,
15th is on.
It's not a meeting.
there's not a meeting night, I'm sorry, right. So February 15th at 6 o'clock. March 7th, more than likely, 6 o'clock.
Mhm.
And
What about the 21st?
and then the 21st will be our regular meeting.
We're doing 6?
I don't think, we don't know if we're doing the Board of Ed at 6, or we're gonna fold them into our meeting, we're not sure yet.
Okay.
So you need to be paying attention to that, Sandy, if we're bringing them in before or after. We're gonna be missing
I know
2
in February.
Two
of
on
our
the 20th.
members that night for the Board of Ed.
I'm going that way.
but that's their always opportunity to come that met our schedule. So I think at least it gives us I think when you open up some of the agendas, some of the department books, you might have an opinion that you might not want to see a few of these. Let's put it that way.
Okay, so for the 15th, would we see public safety?
Public safety,
Emergency management, police? Everything?
police, animal control, dispatch, emergency management, 2 fire departments, and I can put the selectmen review, general government,
That's pretty hefty.
that's enough.
Yeah.
General government is just, here's a number, it's the contingency numbers, and it's health insurance, and it's workman's comp, and a few other things. It's general government and legal.
Do we want to try for 5:30 on the 15th? I don't know what people's work schedule is.
If we start at 6, there's no limit. We can go and go and go. I mean, we don't have a regular meeting to get to.
Yeah, and nothing there, and chances are.
You're talking about the 15th, right?
and,
Yeah.
15.
Yeah.
Let's start at 6.
6, and we could
Start at 6
eat
and-
before.
Let's start at 6.
No, Mark, you can bring dinner.
I'll bring some.
Dairy
you
Queen,
come to our
Dairy
last
Queen
dinner,
isn't
so you
open,
get to bring this one.
unfortunately.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I think we've done that. I will review the budget in my comments, and just highlight a few things. So appointments to boards and commissions, we have a few tonight.
Okay, I'll move to appoint Bruce Braley, 4 Mayfield Terrace, East Lyme, to serve as the Assistant Town Treasurer for the Town of East Lyme with a term to expire on December 6th, 2021.
Wow.
Second?
Any comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Great.
Move to appoint Raymond Hart, 44 Bush Hill Drive, Natick, to serve as Deputy Fire Marshal for the Town of East Lyme with a term to expire on January 6th, 2020.
Second.
Any comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Okay. And with Richard Morris's departure as fire marshal at the end of the day on March, what do we say, 2nd?
5th. Oh, it says right here. Oh, the commence on March, okay.
Start on the 5th.
Okay. Move to appoint Richard Morris, 9 Hague Avenue, Nyack, to serve as Deputy Fire Marshal for the Town of East Lyme with a term to commence on March 5th, 2018, and expire on January 6th, 2020.
Second.
Has been seconded. Any comments? In this case, just a comment for the record, as Deputy Fire Marshal in this role, he cannot be an employee of the town, so this would be just almost in ceremonial, so that he could go represent his industry and our town at various commissions and industry boards and commissions and gatherings for which he's been a part of for so long. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Great. I think there's a sign call.
Thank call. Town of East Lyme, notice of special town meeting. Notice is hereby given of a special town meeting of the Town of East Lyme to be held on Wednesday, February 21st, 2018, at 7 p.m. at the East Lyme Town Hall Upper Meeting Room for the following purposes. 1, to approve a special appropriation in the amount of $29,813.85 for the installation of energy-efficient lighting at the Field Services Building at 8 Capitol Drive. A budget account titled Energy Efficient Lighting, FSB, will be established for the grants, funds, and conservation incentive. Revenue account 01-08-800-842. Clean energy incentives has been established for these funds. $10,000 from Eversource Bright Idea Grant funds have been received. $8,916.93 from conservation incentive dollars have been received from Eversource. The balance of $10,896.92 will be paid by the monthly savings in the related electric bill from building maintenance account 0101-113-400-210, and to transact any other business proper to come before the meeting. Dated at East Lyme, Connecticut, the 7th day of February 2018, East Lyme Board of Selectmen.
Second?
Any comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, you have communications in your folders, so please note those. There's a letter from Ms. Salvatore and a SCARA tipping fee page. Ex officio reports, who'd like to start?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we'll run down the table then.
So, planning was canceled. The only thing I have to report on is building commission. So at the last building commission, we went through the final numbers, which is the 90% construction document estimate. It's coming pretty close to the 37.5 million that was authorized. There were some changes in there. There were some things that came in a little more expensive than we thought, including the canopies. They've been moved to alternates. There's a list of 17 alternates that are also going to be part of the bid package. So we're hoping that we get some good bids. Also, I think the way I think it's going to be done is there's going to be 2 schools are going to be put out to bid, and then a 3rd school we put out to bid separately. And February 20th, coming up from 1 to 2:45, there's the pre-bid meetings for Lily B. United Center, and then for Lily B. United Center, those are the first 2. So, anyways, that's going to come in. So in March, hopefully we'll start getting some numbers. What's going on? I have as everyone knows, the plan is to start this summer, and it is going to go through 2019. So anyways, that's what I have to report, but the commission's done a really good job. Some of the stuff that came in a little bit more was for health and safety, so. That's all I have, I guess.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Hardy?
I don't have anything special this evening.
Okay, Mr. Siri?
No, Parks and Rec meets tomorrow night, and they haven't met since our last meeting, so nothing to report.
Great. Mr. Cunningham?
Well, I attended the Historic Properties Commission meeting, and there was a discussion about the demolition delay ordinance that they've been reviewing and working on, and they accepted comments from the town attorney Waller, Smith and Palmer. Attorney Mark Zamarka had some constructive ideas, and they're going to incorporate those ideas and get back to the building department to come up with an updated proposal, the demolition delay ordinance. There was a discussion about some bridge art, some ideas for incorporating some pieces of the old bridge that was replaced down in Cheney Park, and they're trying to come up with a concept or an idea that might be doable. And then there was some discussion about the Samuel Smith House and some of the repairs and undertakings that are moving forward with the Sam Smith House. And that was about it.
Terrific. That bridge art, we have 3 gears stored somewhere in this town that aren't down at the Cheney Park, and we're going to solicit the town workers to move them down to the park area, and then eventually someone can put up a display and a storyboard about what they are and how those gears work to lift the bridge, or to turn the bridge, I guess it was, the swing bridge. And that's being worked on, as well
Yes,
as an art piece by Al Scheer as well.
Right.
Mr. Daigle?
Nothing to report from Harbor Management or Inland Wetlands.
Great. First Selectmen's report, I won't read the whole 7-page memo. I urge you to study it when you get home and have some time over the next couple of days. A lot of thought went into it, and I try to strike a tone of where we are as a town. It's kind of the state of the town address, if you will. It's become that. I'm proud of this budget that you received tonight. It contains a 0.0 town budget. All in. A 0.0 town budget increase. No, it's not all free, but an increase, no increase, 0.0. The Board of Ed is at a 2.59, I believe. Is that the right number? Let me just go over a little bit what's going on in our town. Our state's economy continues to slide downward. Connecticut residents are increasingly paying the price. Our state government's budget crisis dominates the headlines and creates anxiety and worry to all. It's put extreme pressure and created an atmosphere of worry on families across our state. Because of the state's financial mess, these are also tough days for all municipalities in the state. We're caught between reductions in state aid, a mediocre business climate, and rising costs for goods and services. Healthcare, liability insurance, collective bargaining wages, and associated benefits have all outpaced the private sector's cost of living. Containing costs on the municipal level has been a real challenge for most towns, and I'm proud to say that East Lyme has been extremely successful thus far in weathering the storm. Now, I talk a lot in my talk with department heads about balance, and with constituents as well, about balance, about balancing taxes to quality of living, about balancing the costs of education, and how we can't let our education system crumble in this town, because on the other side of that seesaw is our property values. So we talk about balance, and most of my reflection and planning for the spending in our town is focused on the value we receive for the tax money we collect. Businesses call this a return on investment, and we're no different. With the loss of state aid and the natural rise in the cost of delivering municipal services, we are trying to strike a balance between raising taxes to pay for the services we value, eliminating services that we can no longer support, and increased pressure to uncover efficiencies through shared services, like regionalization. Losing large chunks of state aid and shifting that burden onto property taxes is the real issue today and in the near future. Obviously, making sure our town remains affordable and favorable will be the central challenge in the years to come. And already we've created an atmosphere where that equation or balance plays into every single decision, every single conversation in this building and in all town buildings centers around the equation of, are we getting enough value for the expenditure of the tax money? It happens not during budget season, not developing the book, not implementing the book, but in everything we do. We don't just consider these issues during budget season. Literally, the value of the return of the tax money we spend, the ROI, is part of every conversation in this building. We must prepare for the eventual loss of state aid and the burden it will have on our property taxes. Living within our means might mean the loss of some town services in the future. Of course, when services are cut or standards are lowered, it will be impossible to please everyone. Eliminating traditional services, cutting back on hours, lowering service level expectations will be met with criticism by some, and applauded by others. The value of our services is indeed in the eye of the beholder. Half our citizens might value and even rely on a particular service, while the other half will call it wasteful government spending. Although we have been able to maintain service and standard levels thus far, and in this current budget we maintain service levels, we will need to make very difficult decisions in the coming years. That's the bottom line. It's a 0% budget. Needless to say, this is a bare bones budget. There are no new projects. There are no new positions. We did add half a dispatcher to make that a full 5th dispatcher. But when we did that, we removed several other positions in town to be able to afford that. We cut back where we could. We're just finding efficiencies everywhere we can. But we really feel like we're wringing that rag over the sink, and there's nothing left in it. When we go to try to maintain taxes in the future, we have to lose services in order to do that, or we're going to have to pay higher for those services, and that's the bottom line. I want you to look through the letter, because it also points out where we're saving money, where the money's coming from. We have a 0.0 budget increase, but it is not without a little bit of maneuvering. One thing I'll want to put right out is we've taken all the money that is in the Parks and Rec budget, the lifeguard, the gate attendants, the supervisors. We took that out of our expense budget. And we also took the money we receive in beach passes out of the revenue budget. And we're going to put that all in a special revenue account or enterprise zone, if you will. And we're going to make the beach passes pay for the beaches. It makes perfect sense to me. It puts pressure on the, no, not pressure, but it makes the Parks and Rec run like a business. What are we charging? What's the value of our service? What's the cost of our service? And really, they got to work that equation backwards. What's it cost us to put on a beach for these several months a year? What's that cost? What do we need to charge based on estimated attendance? And they've already gone ahead and done that. Their new fee schedule will include no increases for resident parking, but increases for out of town, and increases in the pavilion rentals and for vendors that use our beaches to sell product, like, the ice cream trucks and all that. I'm proud of the Parks and Rec for stepping up and accepting this challenge. That's $150,000 that came out of the budget. Frankly, that would be in there, and there'll be a $150,000 increase in our budget. So it's not really 0.0, and I wanted to point that out. But we're also taking out things like LoSiP out of our budget, because, what if, like, the governor gave us $1 million extra next year in LoSiP? And it happened last year. He doubled the amount of money we got in LoSiP, which is Local Area Capital Improvement Plan. It looked like our budget went up last year when we got $200,000 extra. It looked like we had an increase in our budget, but we didn't. We did get more state aid, and the money we spend in LoSiP is exactly correlates to the revenue. Kind of like when we get those DUI grants. We get a $50,000 DUI grant, we go out and spend $50,000 in DUI. It doesn't really belong in a budget. It belongs in a grant fund or something, but it doesn't belong in an expense budget. So we're isolating those things out so we can have a real good conversation of what we need to budget for in your expenses. So we'll work through this. You'll have questions about that enterprise zone. You'll have questions about cuts we're making. We can't compromise on public safety. We can't compromise on first responders and the safety equipment they get and the training they get, and we do not. That's the most important. So, and I'll put that right out there too. That's a very important part of running a government, is running it properly, efficiently, but responsibly.
When you were saying no new expenditures, does that mean that you're not allowing any expenditures from capital improvement plan?
There is a capital plan because we do need to. We have our vehicle acquisition plan. We have, and you'll see that coming up. The capital always follows this book. I don't think it's in your book yet. It might be. We need a new trash truck. We're actually having some difficulties. A couple of days we missed trash. You may have heard about that. I did.
So you're not including that in the statement of no new expenditures?
There's no new initiatives. We always have to update equipment. As we toured a building today, we realized we're going to have to put some money in our roof, maybe. But we're not expanding government. We're not creating positions. We're encouraging all departments to hold the line and not come up with any new programming, et cetera. We are going to replace some equipment, but the replacement costs will be about the same as it was last year. There's no increase in capital costs this year. It's a good point. That's that. Public comments. Is there anyone from the public who'd like to speak to Selectmen? Not with nothing else to talk about. I'll make a
Quick question for you, Mark.
yes. I want to respond to the earlier delegation, but if you have a question.
The hazard mitigation plan, is that going to come before us at another meeting?
Thank you. It is, but I have an answer for you. That plan book, which is in the works, and it was a snapshot in time, has already been submitted to FEMA and wherever it gets submitted to. But we have, I've asked Jim Butler from the Council of Governments, who spearheads this, we can put an addendum onto the book. So if there are any other, Roseanne pointed out the resident state trooper comments, but I would need to collect all that. And we will formalize an addendum to be put onto the book, and they will accept that. And by the way, I don't think there's any changes in that we've identified that would change the hazmat conditions of the town, should there be, an emergency. But we'll put that addendum on, which will be automatically adopted into the next printing of the book, the next upgrade of the book. So I'd need for you folks to review that and give me any updates, and we'll be voting on that at our next meeting.
Okay, I did not continue with it if it was gonna be a useless exercise.
I understand.
So,
So now you know. So in the next 2 weeks, you got 14 days, and really, if you could do that sooner, so I can collate them and go through them.
So you want any suggested corrections,
Suggested corrections?
emailed to you?
Yes, please. And we'll collate that and bring that forward. We can have a lengthy discussion if you wish, and then we'll ask, through a motion, ask the council of governments to add that into the hazmat.
Okay, so the Natural Resources Commission has been working on a document to send to you regarding hazard mitigation in terms of the I-95 project. They hope to have it to you.
This book is already printed. I don't think that belongs
Well,
in this book.
okay,
I think we look for corrections of the book.
but when you mentioned addendums,
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I should be clear. Any corrections of the book and updates of the town that are already in effect, I know what the natural resource people want to do.
Mhm.
And I think that's going to be a lengthy discussion and where we go with that. It's certainly probably available for the next book, and certainly 95 will be still be sitting out there the way in the same
well, they're
condition.
doing some pretty heavy-duty surveying out there.
Yeah.
Okay.
My comments to the earlier delegation was, I just got to say, just about everything said tonight was misinformation. And I guess I would say basically confusion on behalf of the citizen. We had meetings that were public in nature, when we talked about a temporary tower up at this, the solar farm. Because it's temporary in nature, we followed all rules, and did not have to go in front of the siting council as much as we had to file with the siting council, which was done. It is not owned by the town, it's owned by a private contractor who is providing service to the town. I think, trying to remember if that's, it's done for free or if we're paying a fee for that. I believe it's without a fee. We are also had public meetings, information sessions, etc., about the permanent tower that will be built at Darrow Pond, which is in the process of going through the siting council and engineering and all the other things that it has to go through, including all the different boards and commissions and government agencies. I don't believe it's 120 feet up in the air. If it is, it is. It does not require a light unless it's 200 feet in the air, I believe. So no one's trying to hide anything. In fact, we've had public meetings about that, and we have minutes in the clerk's office that can back that up. I can't remember all the other things, although I'm very concerned that someone would come into our meeting and speak about rumors about a person without fact. That would be considered slander, especially if it was wrong and it was, broadcast on a microphone in a public meeting. So I would urge citizens, when they come up here and say things about other people, that they kind of have their facts straight. You can't broadcast a rumor and make up a rumor. If it's not true in a public setting, that would be grounds for slander and a lawsuit, so be careful with that. I don't know if anything else is required to be said on that. I encourage anybody who has rumors or has questions to contact my office. Be happy to answer them at any time. That's what I do. Any other comments?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All out.